All right, this is how the camera works. Um, this is set on the screen though, which you can do it any way you want, but I guess it really doesn't matter. But I think it works better on the screen. But basically, when event begin plays, which is the same thing as like construction script, when the thing gets first brought into the game, you want to get all actors of the class camera, which is I mean, you can, it's whatever you built, but for now, for testing purpose, I just named it camera. That's the blueprint for the cameras. Um, so whenever you change it, so whatever you title it, then you're going to want to put it here. Um, and then set a variable, but make sure it's actors though. Make an array of cams called, or whatever you want to call it, and put it as actor. And then you're going to save all the cameras that are in the game. Um, Now, like I said, this is prototype, so I did this pretty quick, so this still needs some work. Basically, this gets all the cameras in the game, but when you actually put it in the mod for other players, you may want to set it up so that you get all actors of class this, and then maybe with some a loop, which is basically like this, a for loop. Then you might want to look for all the ones that have the player's tribe ID. This makes sure that only the players only get the cameras that the player created. But for now, like I said, this is a prototype, so this is right now it's getting all the cameras in the map, so all three of those cameras. Now, once you set the variable for your new camera array, then and make sure you want to do this at the beginning when it's first built. You want to take the screen, which is the static mesh, because yours might be something different. It just says screen for me because um, screen is my static mesh. Now I did this before I changed the parent class to small storage box, so you don't need this. You just need the my static mesh, but it doesn't matter. Um, I just did it like this because I didn't have a static mesh. I didn't have this at first. I had this after I changed it to small storage box because this was a prototype. So, but basically, you want to get your static mesh, and see there's a, let me see, where's it at? Okay, never mind. Anyway, they get you static mesh, and what you want to do is you want to create a dynamic material instance, and then set it to the element index the um, of the material you want to change. In this case, it's the screen. And like I said, you might have it named something different. I just named it like this because I was working on it. So, but nope, that's not the right one. Where is it? Oh, wrong thing. Three? Is that it? Okay. So this is what I meant earlier when I said you forgot to make two materials. But for me, element one is the material you created, which is basically all this red and the letter A and you know the screen stuff. Material, which actually I'll just do it like that. See, but you want to create a dynamic material for this screen, and the reason you want to create a dynamic material is because you need it to be dynamic so you can change it. Um, Now, the source material, you want to create two. One that's clear, which I named dynamic screen clear matte for material, and then regular dynamic screen matte. And I'll show you what those look like. Now these are both materials, but the clear material, just to let you know, you want to set the blend mode to translucent. This gives you the opacity. If you set it to 0, it's clear. And you're going to need this because behind this second material that's here, because this is technically two objects. There's two materials because there's two different objects. I had to create a second one in Maya. So when this material goes invisible, it's going to show your original uh, design, which is that big A right there. It's going to be like right there. So you definitely want a clear material so you can see right through it. Um, so you set the source material to something clear or blank. Set it to your variable that you create, which has to be, I think it's called material instance. Hold on one sec. I'll tell you right now. Delete and delete. Okay. What? I still have it? Where is it? Oh, there we go. All right. Now let's see. Material. Okay, material instance dynamic. That's what you want for your materials. Let me put that back in there. And get, come on. Oh, come on. Okay. So yeah, you want to set clear to something and not entirely clear matte. This will be your clear dynamic material. Create another one with the camera uh, material, which will be pretty much your render target. Um, I'm not gonna go through all those because I'm pretty sure you've seen the YouTube video, and if you haven't, you can check it out real quick. But with that guy from YouTube, the Tesla. But basically, this is your render target, and this is material based off the render target. This is where the camera's gonna be streaming the video off of. So you want to set that for your second material, which well, whatever you name it. And then right after that, me personally, I would set it to clear so that the default version of the screen is like off or blank, because when a player decides to create this, obviously they may not have a camera set up. And then of course this is how I set up for now, which is basically when you press F, it does a flip flop. What it'll do is since it's already clear, it'll change the clear, which is another way of making it look like it's off. It'll put it to on and set that the camera to the actual material. And that's how. And then when you press F again, it'll turn it off, and it just flip flops between them. Now, as far as switching between cameras, um, and this is why I say I think it's good to do this all in the screen one, because uh, well, technically it doesn't really matter, I guess, but I don't know. I just think it works better. But once you have this set and saved, what you can do is what I have set up so far is actually this was how I set up before uh, with the how you say with the G button, but I switched it obviously to this. This is why when I showed you the video, uh, when I went up to the thing and I pressed the G button every time I clicked on it, it switched cameras. So you can have this set up any way you want. You can have it set up here with the multi-use thing, or you can have it set pressed with a button. But either way, they both work the same. The only difference is one's a button and one is, well, in this case, it's whatever you push on the user interface. So basically, when you press any button, what you want to do is you want to get your camera actors, and you want to check how many cameras does the player have, and -1. The reason you -1 is because this is going to tell you how many cameras are in there. So for right now, there's 3 cameras. So this is going to show 3, but which I'm pretty sure you know because you've took some programming. With arrays, the index, they start at 0. So if there's 3 cameras, the index is 0, 1, 2. So you want a -1 to make sure that this produces the number 2 instead of 3, even though there's 3 cameras. But it just, it works better that way because you'll get bugs since there's no way to check the index. So basically we want to check is the count is going to start at 0. Yep, starts at 0. And basically we're just checking to see, because since it's cycling through the cameras, we want to make sure that we don't go out of bounds with the array, which is one of the reasons why we need to minus 1 from the total count. So right now it's saying 2, so obviously 2 is not less than 0, so this is false. So if it's false, all it's going to do is just going to get the count, which is 0 right now, which would be the first index, get that camera, cast it to your camera blueprint. Then when you cast it with the camera, you're going to want to set the texture target to the render target, which you saw earlier was here. So once we do that, we're pretty much telling the camera, like if it's this camera, we're saying that whatever this is streaming, we want it to place here. Okay. Now once we do that, we'll get a bug if we don't take care of the other cameras, because these cameras technically all stream to the same render target. So we need to shut these off. So what happens is we do a for loop with all the cameras arrays, and basically we want to get the count because the current count is the current camera, and we want to skip it. So we're going to check the array index. If the array, or if the index, the current index is the same as the current index of our camera, if they're equal, if it's true, we don't want to do anything. We want to skip it. So once this is blank, the loop will go back to the body and start over again. So then what happens is, basically what this loop is for is it's going to skip the current camera and it's going to cycle through all the other cameras and go one by one, which is why after that, if it's false, we're going to cast it against another camera, and then we're going to set all the text targets, just leave this blank. So when you do that, basically what happens is you set the current camera to, when you press G, to stream, which would be like this one, and then you set with a loop all the other cameras off. And then basically what happens is when you press G again, oh my bad, I didn't get to finish. Once this loop is finished, once it's completed right here, we're going to increase the count by 1. This, like I said, this was prototype. I don't know how you want to do it, but this is so that whenever someone presses G again, they're not constantly using the same camera. Now they're going up 1 count, so now they're going to the next camera in the cams, and basically it keeps going and going until finally the count becomes more than the amount of cameras in the array. When that happens, then we set the camera count back to 0. This is so that it doesn't go back out of bounds, and then the same thing. So basically this is like almost like a big loop, and that's how we cycle through the cameras. This is how we go through the shutting on and off of the screen, and of course the jetpack. And I showed you the video on how they work, so you pretty much seen it. And you know pretty much this. I mean, I think you know this because you send me the tutorial, but just in case if you don't, this is pretty much easy. You just want to set BP try multi-use to true on the default. Let's see, BP. Maybe that's not it. Let me try multi. Enable multi-use. Blueprint multi-use entries. Actually, this is the one, because I think this is already checked, but you want to check this. Yeah. And basically, what you want to do is you want to create an array. An array, but it has to be multi-use entry. And then you can name it whatever you want, but you want to set this to that. And then this way, so that what you can do here is you can make a multi-use entry, and then you can add it to the new array and then reset it. Basically all you're doing, it's common sense, but basically all you're doing is you can't directly change this. So the only way to do it is to set it to a variable, change the variable, and then reassign a new multi-use entry. And then basically you can name it whatever you want. You have to give it a user index. They say anything over 9,000 because all the other ones are used for other things. And the priority is where you want it in the little radio thing. If you want it at number 1, the first spot, put 0. If you want it a little bit further down, put a different number. Um, Leave it like that for now. And then you can give it a string. I put camera user interface, but like if you were going to use this to switch cameras, you could say, switch, camera. So it's up to you. But then once this is done, then you want to go to the actual multi-use, and then basically what you want to do is you want to get the user index, which you created here, 9003. And with that, you want to use the no switch on integer. So basically, you always want to have a default from what I read, and the default will go straight into return node and make sure this is always checked true. But when you do hit your user index, which is the one you created, the same thing I showed you with press G, that's all this is. Instead of pressing G, like I said, if you don't want the button, then basically, like I said, all you're going to do is that once your index is clicked. And then, same thing I showed you in the other one. It's going to do the same thing. The only thing is at the end of it, you want to do a force net update and just connect it. This forces it, the mod to update not the mod. This forces the server to update the mod, which you're going to want. And that's basically it, man. That's it for the camera switching, the turning on and off of the screen, and Jetpack. I'm going to try to work on this in a little bit, like tonight, and see if I can finish it a little bit tomorrow before I leave. But I'm gonna send you the files now, and then I'll send you the files if I get to update it some more, so that you have an update. So I'm sorry that I couldn't quite finish it, but you should be able to get most of it working with just what I showed you here. Like I said, for instance, with the camera switching, for this, if you want to create a widget instead of all this, you would just use the create the widget thing and everything, and then from the widget, let's say you have a button on the widget. Every time you click the button on the widget, you can cycle through the cameras. It would be the same thing you did here with the buttons. You know what I'm saying? So everything is pretty much the same. Even this, you can create a widget for this, where if a person presses a button on the widget, it flip-flops between the materials. So basically all this stuff is pretty easy. The only one that you might have a little trouble with, which like I said, I still may be able to help you. I'm going to try to finish it tonight. Which is the Jetpack, because right now the way it works, you have to keep, I took the button off, but I had it like this. But whatever you use, and this is also easy. Like for instance, you wanted it so that if you equip the Jetpack, so basically if the Jetpack is equipped, you can set like a variable. So if equipped, create a variable and say Jetpack on. If it's true, then you can do is what is like I'll give you an example because I don't want to confuse you. In the primal item, let's say it's the Jetpack. When the Jetpack is equipped, you set a variable that says like Jetpack on, or Jetpack on, and then every time it's equipped, set that to true. Every time it's not equipped, set it to false. But when it's equipped, let's say that you want the player to press a button after he has it equipped. Well, then you can look for the variable is equipped on equal to true. If it is true and the person presses the button, then you can set it to do all this, basically. But like right now, the way it works is you have to keep tapping the button. It's not like one of those Jetpacks where if you keep your finger on the button, it keeps on going. I could do something like that. I won't be able to do it before I leave, but I still may be able to help you through Skype, like talk you through it, because it's not that hard. Basically, what you can do is, which I was gonna do as a prototype, was set a Boolean variable, and then if it's pressed, like Jetpack on, then you can put like a branch here that says if Jetpack on, go through all this step, but instead of it ending here, you can loop, like put a delay. You always want to put a delay, but I would, if you don't want it to delay too long, but like, so put 0.2 seconds, but you always want to delay, because if not, the dev kit's gonna think it's gonna think it's an infinite loop, and you don't want that, because then it won't work. So put a delay, like let's say here, and then loop back to the branch. So every time that the fact that the jetpack is on, you don't have to keep pressing the button. Instead, it'll just keep increasing his altitude like that. Um, and then if you press, let's say, the button, or you release the button, let's say, then you set the variable to false. So this way, this turns the jetpack, instead of a clicking to start, you just keep your finger on it, and then you let go to turn the jetpack off. Now, the only problem is you're going to have to mess around with these two, the Z here and the Z here, because I haven't quite figured it out, but they both affect different things. So, for instance, I have this at 1 and 400. This changes the velocity. I think this changes it more with the Z. So you may want to put this down to like 50 maybe, and put this like at 400. You just got to mess around with the numbers so you get it perfect. But like I said, if you want it so that you're clicking, then you can leave it like this. But if you want it where the player has their finger on the button and they have it down all the way, then you want to make this like a loop, which like I said, put a delay here and loop it back to the branch. And that's pretty much it. That video is super long. Sorry that it's long, but I wanted to make sure I explained everything, because I don't know if I have a lot of time, and I want to spend most of it seeing if I can fix it. But if I can't, then I want you to be able to see what you can do so that it's done in time for the competition and everything. All right, man. I will talk to you later.